give me fuel, give me fire, give me that which I desire.
Hey everybody, welcome to episode 4 of Metallicast, the Metallica podcast. I'm your host and fellow Metallica fan. My name is Brandon. So this episode marks another first for the show. Last month in episode 3, I did my first ever track-by-track breakdown of a Metallica album. This month, I have my first ever guest. He is the host of an Iron Maiden podcast called the Maiden Fan Podcast. And our intention was to talk for about an hour, do a single episode, discuss and debate Iron Maiden and Metallica, but we ended up talking for over 2 hours. So I did an introduction at the start of our chat, but I'm doing this separate solo introduction to let you know that this will actually be a 2-parter. Part 2 will come out a couple weeks after this one as episode 5. So I was debating if I want to edit the conversation down, but I enjoyed talking to him. I enjoyed listening back to it, and I think you'll get a lot out of it. So that is the plan. So look for episode 5, part 2 of this one in a couple weeks. Also, wanted to give you the heads up that the program we were using disconnected us a few times. So if you hear like an awkward edit or you hear us repeat something, that was just us trying to pick up where we left off. I apologize ahead of time, but it definitely did not happen enough times where it should impact your listening pleasure. So without further ado, here is part 1 of Metallica versus Iron Maiden. Hey everybody, welcome to episode 4 of Metallicast. I am your host and fellow Metallica fan. My name is Brandon. So this is a very special episode because I am being joined by my first ever guest on Metallicast. He is the founder of our home site, fans.experts.com. He is the host of an Iron Maiden podcast, the cleverly titled Maiden Fan Podcast. And unfortunately, he is also my cousin. Say hi, Mike.
Hello there, Brandon. Hey there, buddy. I really hope this works. We're trying a brand new kind of website to record ourselves. You broke up a little bit there, but again, nobody's listening to this podcast for you. So, pretty happy to be here.
Pretty happy you should say that because I'm pretty sure everybody is listening to this podcast for me because I represent the Metallica fans, which are way more diehard than any Iron Maiden fan. Are there even any Iron Maiden fans out there?
See, it's funny, I guess you could say there's more Metallica fans, because a lot of people own FM radios, and I
could say that because it's true. It's a fact.
I would agree. There are probably more Metallica fans in the United States, and
just in the United States. Just in the United States.
Oh, sure,
not all over the world. They're not a global band at all. You're right.
Oh no, they're a global band. I just was saying that there's more fans for Metallica in the United States. And it's fine. People love FM, the FM rock stations. That's a great place to hear new music.
Wait, first of all, I have 2 questions right now. What is FM and what is a rock station? Is this 2018 or is this 1988? I'm very confused right now.
Well, Brandon, when I was a young man in the 80s, my knowledge... I'm sorry?
Have you ever been a man?
When I was a young boy in the 1980s, I used to go to a place called the Methuen Mall. And there were these certain gentlemen there that we would call mall rats. Mm-hmm. They wore jean jackets. They had long hair, and they had Metallica patches all over their jeans and dungarees. They might have had Iron Maiden patches. I don't know if I remember, to be honest with you, but I remember seeing Metallica patches and not knowing anything about that band. Just knowing that they were scary. And,
scary in what way? Just
I was a kid.
Elaborate.
They weren't Poison. They weren't Winger. They were scary.
You do a great talk dirty to me too, just for the record.
Thank you. So. You can play that if you want. You have the rights. But they were a band that I knew from the backs of jean jackets. I knew from seeing them, like albums in the store, but didn't know what they looked like. I didn't know, like, why aren't they doing, splits and kicks in the air and waving their hair? I don't know. I don't know who this band is. They were scary to me. And it wasn't until, certain music television made me aware of the band that you like to call your quote unquote favorite.
Interesting. So, full disclosure, we're going to have a debate here: Iron Maiden versus Metallica, and I'll talk more about that. Full disclosure, though, I am a big Iron Maiden fan, and I think I could classify you as a big Metallica fan as well.
Yeah, I'm a big Metallica fan. Obviously, this is really just to take a shit
Yell
on
at
as
each
much as I
other.
possibly can.
This is just to like kind of shit on each other.
Exactly.
Which we do all the time anyways, but now that just gives us an excuse and kind of organizes our shit talking in a music nerd platform. Yeah.
Basically, what we're doing right now is inviting everybody to Easter morning.
Wait, where's the kielbasa? Where's the kielbasa?
The kielbasa, and there's no. And the nice thing is we both team up together to shit on your brother for his love of corn with a K and a backwards R.
Yeah. All right. So, all right. I feel like this needs a little bit of an explanation because everybody listening right now is like somebody listens to corn. So I'm the youngest of three boys. My middle brother, he's a very disturbed young man who still thinks that nu metal is a thing but he still thinks those nu metal bands are relevant and important and good. And Korn is his all-time favorite band. Now, to his credit, out of all those nu metal bands, Korn has had probably the best staying power, and they at least have a sound that I can, define as their own. But at the end of the day, they are Korn.
Your brother doesn't believe me. I don't think he believed me when I said I don't know any Slipknot songs except for that Wait and Bleed. I don't know any other songs. He did not believe me. He thought I was making it up.
But I would not even classify Slipknot as like a nu metal band. Like Slipknot's like straight up metal.
Okay. I guess what I do is I classify everything that he likes and that's it. It goes through the Matt filter, nu metal to me. And I know Slipknot, I know they're not. They're the ones who wear the masks and bang on garbage barrels. I understand.
Let's clarify a little bit. I mean, my brother loves he likes bands like Slipknot, and yes, he likes Metallica and Megadeth, but like his bread and butter are like rap metal bands. Let's clarify. They're rap metal bands. Like he
goes out of his way to see Head PE.
Yeah. He still maintains the Limp Bizkit's a good band. I love how this is just already turned into shitting on my brother, who's not even here to defend himself.
He wouldn't know how to do this if his life depended on it.
No, he's still trying to. He has no clue what a podcast is.
No, he listens to CDs.
Speaking of FM rock radio, he's still listening to that and buying. Yeah, I think he legitimately does buy CDs.
Absolutely. The only CDs I buy are Iron Maiden CDs.
Interesting. The only albums I buy are Metallica albums. The rest I stream through my monthly subscription of Apple Music. So, all right. So let's get back on track here. So, I'm a Maiden fan. You're a Metallica fan. So you saw these mall rats wearing the Metallica patches.
Yes.
Let's go from there. So you saw them initially on MTV back in the day when MTV was actually music television and not only played videos, but actually played metal videos.
Yes. Well, I don't know if I saw this on Headbangers Ball, which I was a loyal viewer of, but this has had to be, I don't know when one was it 1988, 87? So I was.
The album came out in 88, so the video is probably like 89.
Okay, so I was like 7th and 8th grade when that came out. I thought it doesn't get better than White Lion. It just doesn't. But
which you still argue some days.
That's true. So it was, seventh grade, I think, is when I started getting into Guns N' Roses. Sixth grade was Kiss. Seventh grade, Guns N' Roses was, a little harder here, a little harder.
This is not to interrupt you again, but this is no makeup Kiss. This is 80s Kiss.
Well, that's what was out at the time. My brother went to the Crazy Nights tour. Ted Nugent opened for them.
Wow.
But this was the first time that they had makeup. Well, this was after the first makeup run. When we wished and prayed that they'd put on makeup, and now they'll never go away. I'm almost positive all 4 members of Kiss are dead and they've been replaced.
You've seen The Walking Dead. It's Kiss is basically that, just exactly. With Kiss makeup. Yeah,
exactly. They're basically The Walking Dead, but with much better licensing. So I saw one. That was like the first time I saw Metallica. Even in the video, you could barely see them. It was scary. And I liked the song, and I thought, maybe I do like that band, Metallica.
I gotta say, that's quite the introduction to the band. Like it is an 8+ minute song,
right?
And it just builds up into complete thrash craziness at the end, and that's still to this day in 2018 the most depressing music video I think I have ever seen.
Yeah, it's pretty depressing. So it wasn't until I'm gauging this was probably at the same time, 7th grade, 8th grade. But it was, I know for sure in 8th grade is when I discovered Iron Maiden. We'll get to that. So Metallica, I knew one. That was the big one. That was it. I didn't have any Metallica albums. It wasn't until 91 when the Black Album came out that I said, I'm going to officially go buy my first Metallica CD. I went and bought it, and the rest was pretty much history. Now, I play guitar. I try to. So I had the tablature book for the Black Album. I had all these I would get metal magazines, and I'd put the Metallica, I cut them out and put them up on the wall. I also had Lita Ford and Whitesnake up there, but Metallica was one of them. But it really was just the Black Album. I had the Black Album from, my freshman year of, was it 91 was probably sophomore year of high school is when I bought it. 92 or 93, my junior year, I saw them at UMass. They were just by themselves. It was that like the stage with the snake pit. But when I went to see them again,
an evening with Metallica tour.
Yeah, there was no opening act or anything. Yeah. I went with my brother.
Did they play the like that video beforehand instead of having like an opening act?
Yes, like with the Western.
Yeah.
And even at that time, because I got the tickets like through a guy at school, it was like kind of quick. It wasn't planned ahead that much. I still had the Black Album, and I knew one, and that was really it. And then I think it was finally my senior year of high school. I was able to see them for a second time. This time they were playing at the Cheshire Fairgrounds in Keene, New Hampshire. It was the bill of Metallica with openers Danzig and Suicidal Tendencies. So at this time, I'm already dating my wife at this point, and I think she wanted to go. And I was like, okay. Luckily, she backed out. It was wonderful because there was no way that would have worked. So that was, I just graduated high school. So this is still, to me, I feel like I'm still late to the game with Metallica as far as, I was old enough to know these other albums, but I really didn't know anything until the Black Album. So this was another year later. They're still touring on the Black Album. But it was the hottest day of my life. I'm in a black t-shirt and jeans. My first kind of mosh pit. And I'm a big kid. I'm like 6'1". I'm a little chubbier back then, probably even. I just graduated high school, so I had my freshman like college hat backwards. I was like, yeah, I'm a college kid now. And Danzig, I had
You're dating yourself already by saying you had a hat backwards. So
yeah. So I just turned my other hat. I'm wearing a hat backwards now. Danzig was like every song sounded the same to me. I just until
Oh,
Mother came on, and I
yeah.
distinctly remember wrapping my arms around my friend and swaying back and forth, and my feet weren't even touching the ground. That's how smushed we were. Suicidal Tendencies came on. There was a bassist, you may be familiar with him. I knew a bunch of songs from them because I had some CDs. And by the time Metallica came on, it was so hot. Jason Newsted passed out. And they ended up finishing the show as a threesome.
Wow.
Not a threesome. That sounds dirty. They ended up as a three-piece. I don't know, whatever. But yeah, they kind of turned up they said they turned up the back end on like their guitars to fill it up a little bit. And by that time, my brother and I already made our way to the back because we were melting.
That is what they call professionals.
Yeah. It's 1994. And that was the last time I saw Metallica live.
Wow. Interesting.
Yeah. But it was right before that album, that right before that concert, that 94 concert. That's when I said, okay, I need to brush up on this. So I went and got 2 albums. They were Injustice for All and Master of Puppets. So I kind of, and I said I play guitar. I was already well into Maiden by then. So I was like getting into, it was pretty easy to get into. And I remember I was the kind of kid who'd bring their tape to the guitar teacher and say, can you teach me this song?
Right.
And I just remember listening to, this was a CD, listening to Master of Puppets and thinking that my CD was skipping because of the weird time changes. I was like, what is going on? This is like Maiden is known for having these kind of changes in the middle of their songs, but not like these weird, like the riff is a weird time change. For the first like handful of times listening to it, it didn't sound right to me. It sounded weird.
Huh. That's interesting to hear.
Yeah. You know, like the riff when during the verse.
Right. Well, I mean, classic Metallica, they would do, especially like I say they would because more so like, well, their couple last albums but more so like their classic like first 4 records, they would change time signature or meter for like a measure randomly. So you would have like 4/4 just going like da 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 da, and then you just have a random odd time signature out of nowhere for like a fill, and then it's like back on the 4/4, and they were just always alternating time and going off from there. And but you're right too. Like Maiden, very progressive band and a lot of changes. But you're right. Were more. I feel like when Maiden changes, the whole band. Yeah, it's a feel. It's a feel. It's
like a whole different chunk of a song, and then it goes back.
Yeah, totally. So let's transition now to all right. So that's how you got into Metallica. How did you get into Iron Maiden?
Just to finish that real quick is so I bought Justice, I bought Master Puppets, then I went back and bought Ride the Lightning. From there, I bought Load, bought Reload. I did buy Saint Anger. Is that the next one after Load and Reload? I tried with Saint Anger. I was talking about it. I was telling my brother, look, it's good. Then I just kind of didn't want to listen to it anymore. So that's just to be honest. I
feel like I need you on board again for a future episode. I've talked about this offline with you for like a Saint Anger album, just to give you an excuse to revisit that and like hear it with fresh ears and see what you think. Because I'm not going to go off on a whole tangent here because that's not the focus of this show right now. But I like that album. I'm going to defend that album still. I will stand by that album for a lot of reasons. But I also understand that it's an imperfect album, to say the least, and I understand the criticisms it got. But
I don't even know if it is. I just know it didn't connect to the point where I wanted to go back to it. So I would like to. That'd be good. And I didn't buy whatever they did with Lou Reed. I know you did.
Nobody did except to me. It sounds like so every Metallica album that came before and after sells, whatever, like hundreds of thousands of copies in its first week. even like their new album in 2018 when albums went on sale sold whatever like 200,000 copies in its first week, which is great for 2018. That album, I think, sold like 30,000 albums total, like to this day. Like,
what is that album called?
Lulu.
And was it Metallica or was it just called Lulu?
It was Lulu. It was Lou Reed with Metallica, but it's a Lou Reed album that
they're the backing band.
Yeah, they're a backing band, but Metallica.
And I remember Howard Stern. There was a song he really liked that he played on there, and I forget what it was. It's like Junior Son. I don't know what it was.
Junior Dad.
That is it. Exactly it. Yeah.
Yeah, you're referring to the 20-minute album closer. Literally 20 minutes. That's an oddball album. I would love to dissect that album with you too, because that would be fun. I mean, it gets no weirder than that. But I mean, that was a Lou Reed album that Metallica contributed to. That's not a Metallica quote unquote album, you know?
So yeah, and so I didn't have that. I did, of course, buy Death Magnetic and of course Hardwired to Self-Destruct, or is it just Hardwired? No, Hardwired to
Self-Destruct. Yeah.
But there's one album that I didn't mention that I've never owned, and I couldn't tell you. I know some of the songs on there, but I don't know the album all that well. Kill 'Em All. I've never owned it.
Wow.
Never owned it. I know Creeping Death is on there. I know Seek and Destroy.
Creeping Death's on Ride the Lightning.
Is it really? I didn't even know that.
But Seek and Destroy is on
okay, Seek and Destroy. Maybe that's it. Also, just to make you feel good, when I saw them in '94 with the Suicidal, and I think they were touring for so long they didn't care about opening with Enter Sandman anymore. They opened with Bread Fan.
Nice.
And I didn't know it was a cover. I didn't know the song, but one of the kids. He's an old man now. But one of the kids who was there,
that Metallica crowd.
He's one of the people that he was in one of the groups at the last Maiden show we went to. But he's like you know, where I honestly, he's a kid I grew up with, a kid I went to high school with. A couple of years ago, we just so happened to be on jury duty together, and we would drive in to Boston doing jury duty, and he was playing like all these Metallica things for me. So he is literally you. And he went to high school with your brother. So see, there you go.
Maybe does he do podcasts? Maybe he has to come on the
don't think so.
You know?
This kid is very Italian. He's so Italian. He has 6 children. 6.
He has no time to listen to half the podcast ever mind.
Like I remember seeing a few years ago, he had 2 kids, and then he had another one, and then he had twins. I was like, what is going on?
Yeah, the Italians and the Irish. Trust me, I married into an Irish family. They just multiply like crazy.
It's like our family, we're like 2. And for some reason, your family was like, we'll have one more. And then you came along.
Well, you know, my parents decided that third time's the charm. We had 2 failures. Let's try one more time and hopefully we get it right.
And they said, you know what? It didn't work. Let's just quit while we're ahead. We have all these mouths to feed.
We have one son who does not listen to metal. We have another son that thinks Korn is metal. Let's try again.
Right. That was their goal.
Yeah. They just wanted a legit metalhead as a son.
But that's pretty much my Metallica journey.
So now Iron Maiden. All right. So let's
Iron Maiden. Okay.
So how do we discover Iron Maiden? Now I gotta say before you get into it, you are by far the biggest Iron Maiden fan that I know. I have a memory of being a little kid because I'm several years younger than you.
Are you 10 years younger than me?
I think so. That sounds about right.
What year were you born in?
Roughly 85.
Ooh. So wait a minute. I can't do math.
You're not 10 years older.
9 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's it.
Yeah. Close.
Yeah.
So crazy, right? So I have this memory of being a little kid going to your parents' house.
Whoa. You weren't supposed to remember that. I told you to block that out of your mind.
The mind will not forget. I'm scarred to this day. I have actually 2 completely random memories of being at your house. One is seeing, for the first time ever in my life, the Live Shit Binge and Purge box set. Because I was like, oh, I know that band Metallica. I like the Black Album. I have the Black Album on cassette. This is like, third, fourth grade Brandon I'm talking about.
That's right. I didn't know that.
Yeah, I'm like, that box set, that says Metallica, and it says a naughty word that I'm not supposed to read and say.
And I said, get out of my bedroom, Brandon.
And then, speaking of your bedroom, the other memory I have is you had a big-ass Trooper poster, which to this day is still my favorite Iron Maiden song, and my favorite Iron Maiden image of Eddie is that Trooper poster that you had in your room.
It is pretty great. It was pretty great. I think that went away when I moved to college, and so suddenly my room became a quote unquote extra room that could have been used for anybody. But yeah, so if anyone is interested in subscribing to an Iron Maiden podcast, look up the Maiden Fan Podcast. I started that back in 2008. I ended it back in 2009 or 10, and I'm bringing it back. But the first episode of that, I kind of go through my full Iron Maiden history. So I'll give you a abridged version. This one's only going to be about...
an abridged version.
This one's
Check
going to
out
be about 90 minutes.
For the full unrated director's cut.
So I knew of Iron Maiden as a band. I knew them because a kid that I grew up with listened to them and loved them. He is me, basically. You think he's the original me. If you think of me as a Maiden fan, he is the same thing, if probably more. But I didn't know any songs until one day I was watching Headbangers Ball, and I saw a video for Iron Maiden, Can I Play With Madness? And I'm watching it.
Can I play with madness?
And I was like playing. I was also playing Can I Play With Myself? It was a Saturday night, and I was watching it.
Wait, I got. Were you playing with your? Were you playing with your madness while they played with their madness at the same time? Was this like
I was? Okay, Iron Maiden was
hand in hand. No pun intended. There,
right. I would say more like Iron Maiden was playing with madness, and I was playing with sadness.
That is the name of your memoir. Can I Play With Sadness?
Absolutely.
Yes.
That should be. That really should be. That would be tremendous. So that album came on, and it was a weird album because I think the band is in it maybe for a second. I don't even know if they're in it at all. There's like school, like British like school boys, and one of them they're like walking around getting a lesson, and somebody falls into some kind of hole. No wonder you were playing
with your madness.
Right. Someone falls in a hole, and I swear there's some animation in it. I have to. It's been a while since I've seen the Can I Play With Madness video, but the song stuck with me because it was catchy. I thought this guy. I'm into singers who sing, and if you get me with a catchy, you get me with a hook. It pulls me in. So, and that was like, wow, I was like, wow, that's that band, that has a catchy hook. So, I saved up some money and I went to my local Strawberries, and I was a Saturday night, probably came, went to 4:00 mass with the family, probably went, I forget exactly where we went, but I'm going to say we went to Strawberries, and I bought Iron Maiden's Seventh Son of a Seventh Son on cassette.
Nice. Brought
it home, put it into my boombox radio, hit play, played the song, go, I think this is the song I like. This, and then I go, no, that's not it. Then I played the next song, I go, I think this was the song from the video. Because back then it was like you hear it once and that's it.
Yeah.
No, that's not it. And then, here it is, Can I Play With Madness, which I think is the fourth song on the album, if I remember correctly. If I can go by memory, it's Moonchild, Infinite Dreams. Oh my God, it's the love is a razor and I want the light of that silver blade. I can't think of the song. Stepped in the dust with his daughter, eyes red with the slaughter of innocence, and I will pray for you.
I know the song too, and
I'll call your name out loud.
But you're the Iron Maiden source. You're supposed to know this. Come on.
I know.
Come on.
Living on a razor's edge, balancing on a ledge. The Evil That Men Do. Oh, so stupid. The Evil That Men Do.
There you go.
Now that can't. See, I don't have this right. I think it's Can I Play with Madness, then The Evil That Men Do. Then this is the second side. And back then it was the second side. It was always harder to go to. I want to say then it's Seventh Son of a Seventh Son, maybe Clairvoyant Prophecy, and
so I'll tell you right now. I have it. I just pulled up in front of me.
Okay. I'm going to do it again. Ready?
Okay.
See if you call.
Go for it.
So it's Moonchild.
Correct.
Infinite Dreams.
Correct.
Can I Play with Madness?
Correct.
The Evil That Men Do.
Correct.
Then I'm going to say Seventh Son of a Seventh Son.
Correct.
The Prophecy.
Correct.
Clairvoyant.
Correct.
Only the Good Die Young.
Ding, ding, ding.
Pretty good. And to me, that's when I started to think an album has 8 songs, and this is how they're divided. And I always go like the third song is the fourth song. When I do mixtapes, I was always like, you hit them with the first song, great, but it's the third, fourth song that's when you're gonna punch them right in the balls.
Interesting.
So I bought that album and I listened to it a lot. I was already going to guitar, every week. So I think I brought my tape in, and the teacher was like, "Yes, all right, awesome." I have
a very clear picture of this guitar teacher, by the way, without ever having met him.
He was awesome. He had long blonde hair, dude.
That was the image I had in my head.
I think he went to school for ULOL music. He was like classically, playing.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I don't want to learn how to read music. Give me the tab for this and get out of my way. And so Seventh Son of Seventh Son, then I might have bought the first Iron Maiden album. I didn't even know that they had a different singer for the first couple albums. But what I started doing then was I told Bill at school, young Billy, and he started bringing in tapes for me. So he let me borrow Live After Death, let me borrow Number of the Beast, let me borrow Peace of Mind. I think he let me borrow Power Slave. I don't know. So basically I started just, jumping in and listening to it constantly. I broke my arm, and my parents bought me Live After Death. I believe
your parents told you to lay off on the madness, and you still broke your arm doing it. Yeah.
Right. And one of the greatest things ever is my grandmother went into Record Town at Methuen Mall and bought me Number of the Beast.
Amazing.
I mean, how awesome is
that?
Amazing.
Your church-going Catholic grandmother.
Probably went right after Mass. Yeah. And she told the story forever. The guy's like, "This is not for you, is it?" She goes, "Oh, no." She told that for years.
Amazing. Love your grandma.
But I started knowing all these songs from Live After Death. And I started realizing these guys, before Iron Maiden and Live After Death, I would see these other bands, these hair bands playing live sometimes, and they didn't always sound great. And to me, I was like, these guys play it exactly the way, which you could say is a good thing or a bad thing, but they at least for the most part, they play these things exactly like they're on the album. And to me, I was like, that's so awesome. So this was 1990 by this point. I'm buying, I got a bunch for Christmas. And now I feel like I'm late in the game as far as Iron Maiden. So at that point, Seventh Son was out already. So they had, I'm going to go with it. They had Iron Maiden, Killers, Number of the Beast, Peace of Mind, Power Slave, Somewhere in Time, and Seventh Son, which of course is the seventh album. They've had like 9 albums since then.
I feel like they've had 9 albums just in the 2000s. They are cranking out albums like left and right.
Yeah, exactly. So they, at that point, they finally had a brand new album. This was my first album as being a fan. Adrian Smith, guitarist, had left the band. They bring in Bruce Dickinson had a solo album that I bought and loved, and Yannick Gers, who was in that band with him, he came into Maiden, and then they put out No Prayer for the Dying. At that point, they went on tour, and me and my brother were in Disney World We went with a friend and his parents and got on the payphone to make sure that my dad didn't screw up when he went and got me and my brother tickets to see Iron Maiden in 1991 at Worcester Centrum with Anthrax opening up for them. My first concert.
That is a hell of a first concert. Maiden and Anthrax.
Great concert. It opened up with Tail Gunner. It was their, now every video I've seen, they had these elaborate stage shows. No, this time they went with like a curtain. I think that was it. Bruce was wearing jeans and a leather jacket. I still had the long hair then. And, it was awesome. It was awesome, but and I knew every song. It was like, I studied it. I knew every word.
And your father was there.
No, my parents dropped us off. And then went off to dinner and then came back.
Because I really wanted to know what my uncle thought of Iron Maiden Anthrax.
Well, it's funny because I think he kind of liked Iron Maiden Anthrax.
He probably likes the operatic vocals, I feel like.
Exactly.
There's a lot of theatricality. And he's a musical theater guy, so...
he's an English major, and Rime of the Ancient Mariner came on, and he knew some of the words. I was like, how do you know this? Let me up. You're pinning my hands. Sorry. I don't know what I'm talking about. You can edit that part out. But I was like, how do you know this? And he's like, oh, I know this. And I mean, I brought that tape to English class a couple times because of Rime of the Ancient Mariner. So I remember being in that concert and being like, there's like 40-year-old dudes here. What the hell? This is crazy. Iron Maiden. And I remember being at the concert, before that, I went to a couple like Battle of the Bands that I knew kids were in, and maybe 5 rows behind me, Anthrax goes on and this guy's like, Anthrax, you fucking rule. I was like, this is the greatest day of my life.
And you know what's awesome is that guy is still at an Anthrax show somewhere doing that same damn thing.
Exactly. Next thing you know, they put out Fear of the Dark. I was like, great, awesome. It was like, it was a little different, but I liked I loved it. And there's a bunch of great songs on it. I think I've grown to appreciate Fear of the Dark more over time because it was some slow parts, some fast parts, and then Bruce leaves the band. And I remember they had a pay-per-view concert with a magician.
What? I'm not sure I've ever heard this before.
No, it's okay. No, so this is Bruce's leaving the band. They kind of had a concert, knowing he was gone. So they had, I forget the magician's name is like Simon something or other. And he kind of co-produced this concert, which it wasn't, I don't even think it was live. Mm-hmm. It was just a concert they put on pay-per-view that I ordered, and I was going to have a group of friends come over, and then I realized none of my friends had liked Iron Maiden, except for Bill, and I'm sure he was, this wasn't college, this was still high school, so he was probably off with girls. I was not at that point yet. So I bought the thing, and I recorded it on VHS. I wish I had it. I'm sure it's definitely on YouTube. And I remember I transferred it to cassette, or I called DNA Records, which is this little record store in Methuen, and be like, hey, I can get a bootleg of that concert on cassette. And the guy's like, yeah, so can I. I was like, oh, okay. I was trying to sell something. But at the end of the
meanwhile, you're the only person who wants to see this.
Right. At the end of the concert, they this guy was great because he had record sized art. So I had a bunch of like album art sized and little posters I'd get at like flea markets or at this guy DNA Records, which I'm almost positive is still in Methuen. If you're in Methuen,
wow,
DNA Records.
So can I just say,
I'm sure.
All right. So you just saying they put on a pay-per-view concert with a magician. Do we even need to have like a debate about which band is better? I think you just won the debate for me.
I think I won. No. I think I just won it for me. Because at the end of the concert, they killed. There was a big magic trick where they executed Bruce Dickinson. So that's how we left the band.
Okay, I stand corrected. That is pretty awesome.
Yeah. So and they put out like 2 live albums at that time, a real live one and a real dead one. And look, This is 93. So I'm at the same time that I love Iron Maiden, I was trying to be a little more mature. I'm thinking like, I love Maiden still, but again, I was getting more into Metallica. I was also finding all the grunge stuff. I was bringing to Alice in Chains and Pearl Jam and all that stuff. So I was all over the place. And I still kind of liked my hair music, but that was dying and off. But, Bruce leaves the band. I'm thinking, that's it. I had my chance. I listened to them for 3-4 years. The band's done. There's no internet. I'm a freshman in college, and I come home one day, and my brother's like, here, and he puts it on my table, and it's the X Factor. And I think, back then, I would have to go to like Walden Books, run in, grab Hit Parade or grab some of these metal magazines, look for Maiden, and get some tidbits of news. That's the only way you got news.
And it's not like MTV is broadcasting the latest on Iron Maiden. So
no. Right. Nothing on the radio, nothing anywhere. Now, it's probably different overseas, but here, nothing like that. So it's very weird, but I feel like I had this weird memory of being in Suncoast Video with that same guy, Bill, walking around, and I think the guy there knew who was that they were getting a new singer. It's this guy from Wolfsbane. I was like, I don't know anything about it, but I got the album. We put the first song on, which was Sign of the Cross, and I was like, it's Iron Maiden. This is awesome. His voice was different, but he had a pretty powerful voice. It was different though. And that album, I listened to, and that is probably still the album to this day that I listen to the least, that I know a bunch of the songs, but there were so many songs on there. There was Blank of the Blank, Lord of the Flies, the Sign of the Cross. There was like at least 3 or 4 on there, and they all started off gloomy, picked up, and then ended gloomy. And I was like, I didn't love it.
You're sort of asking a lot when you bring in a third singer. Like, to have 2 successful singers is amazing. Like, Iron Maiden was able to do it. And really,
and I don't know how successful the first guy was. I mean, they had the 2 big albums, but they didn't blow up.
Yeah, I mean, Bruce Dickinson is the singer of that band. But technically, they had 2 successful singers. Like, Killers is recognized, as one of the most classic metal albums, I think.
Definitely now.
It's just that the Number of the Beast is recognized as, like, top 5 most classic metal album, So, but I mean, you've had AC/DC do it, you had Van Halen do it, but when Van Halen, no disrespect to Gary Cherone and your guy's an Extreme there. I know how much you love Extreme.
Very straight. I know it sounds weird, but I freaking love Extreme.
Lightning struck twice.
You do.
You're the biggest Iron Maiden fan I know, and you're the biggest Extreme fan that I know.
I saw them with Cherone. I saw Van Halen with Cherone. We won tickets, but I definitely went and I loved it.
And I think you're the only person who probably would have preferred to see them with Cherone.
No, I don't know about that.
Even Gary Cherone would rather see them with David Lee Roth. But I bring that up because they had 3 singers. It's like lightning struck twice for them. Like, I know that Van Hagar has their critics, but there's no denying the success of that era. And but you're just asking a lot from people in general when you bring in that third singer. You're asking a lot when you replace David Lee Roth. You're asking even more when you're replacing Sammy Hagar, and it's not David Lee Roth coming in.
I mean, with Van Halen, they're replacing.
It's the same thing with Iron Maiden.
But with Van Halen, they were replacing David Lee Roth with Sammy Hagar, who was already a huge star. And I Can't Drive 55 had just come out. And they had the luxury of MTV, and they put out, to me, 5150 just screams summer. I was like, every time I hear that album is summer.
Well, plus it didn't Iron Maiden no favors too of, like, the X Factor came out in what? Like, that was the mid 90s, right?
That came out my freshman year of college. No, my sophomore year of college. So 95.
I'm guessing that was like, I was gonna guess like 95. So
I think I know.
During 1995, metal was like sort of dead in the water, with a few exceptions. Metal like was just not, like, the grunge era had sort of died out. Metal was sort of stagnant. rock music was really going no place for like that period of time, right in the mid '90s. I feel like so not only do you have a third singer coming in, but it's coming in at a point where in like time where people are just not all that interested in what you have to offer.
Yep.
Even if Bruce Dickinson was in that band, like the popularity would have gone down for them.
Yeah, it was 95. And even then I didn't realize X Factor was because it was their 10th album. Seventh Son was the seventh album. To be honest, so. But they didn't do it with then they had Fear, then they had No Prayer for the Dying, Fear of the Dark, X Factor. So again, that came and I listened to it, but I didn't go crazy with it. Then they came out with
I love, by the way, that this is the abridged version.
I know. I'm going through it as quickly as I can, but I don't want to leave anything out because they're so fucking good.
No, I'm loving this. I'm loving this.
Junior year of college, Best of the Beast comes out. Best of the Beast comes out. They have two, a double CD. I was excited. I don't know why I was excited because it was just songs I already had, but I was like a new Maiden. There was like one new song on there, I think, Virus. There was a couple songs of Blaze Bayley that he did live, and I really dug. And that is when I really started falling in love with Fear of the Dark. I know it's crazy, but it was Blaze's live version.
No,
because it was the live version.
I'm gonna interrupt you there because so you want to talk about you being late to the party, but I mean I'm much younger than you, so I was ultra late to the Iron Maiden party.
Can I play with madness?
So I had, some working knowledge of Iron Maiden. I knew a couple songs. I knew them through you and others, but I never got around to buying an Iron Maiden album until Brave New World, which came out when I was in high school. So you say you were late to the party. I was way late to the party.
It's 2000.
Yeah. And I freaking love that album. To this day, that is my favorite, from start to finish, that is my favorite modern Iron Maiden album. I say modern even though it's 18 years old now. But
Out of the Silent Planet.
Love that album. Since Bruce Dickinson rejoined the band, I feel like they've come out with a long series of records. They've been very they've just been like crapping things out left and right. I feel like that
you mean shitting out Solid Gold?
Sure. In some cases, yes. We dance and we prance.
Right. So,
but out of this, let's call it the second wave of Bruce Dickinson. Out of the 2000 albums, the last 18 years or so since Bruce Dickinson's rejoined the band. That is still to this day from start to finish my favorite. But after I got that album, like I got to go back and start diving into the classics. So the reason I bring all that up is because Best of the Beast was my first entry point into the classics. So that was like a relatively new album. It had the go-tos, the fan favorites, the hits, if you will. And that was when I really dived into it. And Fear of the Dark, the first time I ever heard that song was the live version on Best of the Beast, where everybody is singing every single note. And
right. And that was
that's
Blaze
the version
singing,
I
right?
know.
That was Blaze Bayley singing it too, right?
No, it was Bruce.
So for some reason I thought Best of the Beast.
To my knowledge, it was all Bruce except for two songs. There were two songs from the Blaze Bayley years.
You're absolutely right. I am disgusted with myself.
You should be disgusted with yourself. I'm more of a source of knowledge and information about Iron Maiden than the host of Maiden Fan Podcast.
You know what?
What?
It was fear. It was Afraid to Shoot Strangers that I believe maybe not. I don't
I
know.
think you're
swear.
just making up songs now.
I think I'm just making it up. Honestly, I would fall asleep to that album in college like every night. But so you came into the really, really late.
Yeah, it was really late, but I mean, I was in high school at the time, so I feel like I was like an appropriate age to discover Iron Maiden. It's just, you know, not exactly 1983, you know?
Right. But, you know, it feels like, and just, I'm going to quickly go through where I, you know, after X Factor, you know, I was glad it came out, but I was also listening to whatever was, you know, current at that time. And I was really, really listening to a lot of Faith No More.
Still one of my all-time favorites.
Right. And then Best of the Beast, of course, but I listen to it constantly. I still love them. I still wore Maiden shirts all over, you know, Fitchburg State. And it's my senior year. I don't know. Again, by that time we had the internet in our dorms. And I think I was just searching ironmaiden.com
right
back then. And it might have been ironmaiden.co.uk back then. And I saw that they had another album coming out called Virtual 11, and they had a video for like The Angel and the Gambler, which is really bad green screen video. And I said to my wife, I said, Tammy, I need to steal your car, this giant boat that she drove. We would drive to college in, and I drove across Fitchburg to the mall, went into the mall. I think I might have borrowed money from her too. And I bought Virtual 11, and where X Factor I listened to, but I didn't go crazy with. I feel like Virtual 11, I went nuts. I listened to that constantly.
Really?
And that was Blaze Bayley. And I love that album.
Wow. Interesting.
Yeah. Okay, so this is driving me nuts. Oh no, these are live albums. I'm looking at discography and I'm like, wait a second. Best of the Beast.
Iron Maiden has more best of and more live albums than any freaking band. Like, it is obnoxious. Like they just came out with I feel like they just came out with another live album like in the last year or two. I'm like, really? Who, like, I love Maiden live. Who needs 20 live albums?
Like I have there's the L. Oh my God, I can't even think of
another reason.
There's
by
some
the way,
album
the Metallica
your wife got to be. But you know what? To me, I think they do this constantly because they want to package what they are in one stop so that you could say, "Whoa, I want to see this band live," and they don't have the knowledge that, you know, Metallica has, so they're constantly putting out collections where you can be like, "Hey, check this out." They have so much I can't even think of what it is. Not just, you know, so many different things you could buy but they're not Kiss. They're not there.
Yeah.
Please. Like, it's funny because I see these little toys. I see all these things. I'm like, but they're not Kiss.
They do not yet have Eddie condoms.
They don't have Eddie condoms
that I know
yet.
Of.
They don't have an Eddie coffin yet.
Yeah.
Believe me, if they have an Eddie coffin, you're going to see my dead body in it someday.
If they have an Eddie coffin, I will make sure. Put it in your will, please. Write a will tonight. I will make sure that you are buried in it someday.
Right. And even if there isn't one, just get like, you know, those guys that do car wraps and just wrap it.
It'll probably
wrap me in some.
It'll probably happen tonight after your wife hears this.
It's fantastic. Your wife's going to be like, "What? What is there a receipt on here for a coffin?" It was on Amazon.
It's for an Eddie coffin. No worries.
Right.
What?
It's funny that, you know, we've already talked for like 50 minutes and we haven't done any debating, but you're a Metallica podcast. Everyone there knows Metallica. This is for some of the people who may not know Iron Maiden and who definitely don't know Handsome Me.
I've enjoyed all the time recording. I'm a big Iron Maiden fan, and I always find it interesting how people discovered different bands, because I know I did the first episode of Metallicast about my Metallica story, how I discovered the band, and I put something up on the Metallica fan club forums as sort of like a follow-up, sort of promote the episode or whatever. But like, I got a lot of responses, and I was fascinated at how, like, all the different ways so many different people from around the world got into the same band that I love. Like
Yeah.
so and so saw
awesome.
One for the first time on MTV. So and so heard the Memory Remains on FM radio. So and so saw them in a club in '83. Their friend in high school turned them on to Master Puppets. Like, so many different entry points for so many different people that are just about this same band that you all love. It fascinates me. It really does.
Right. See, not right now, when we talk about metal or we talk about wrestling or whatever we talk about, I don't think about the age difference. But when I was 17, you were, 8
Right.
years old, and I was already all into these things, and you probably weren't there yet. But that's where I'm like, when I heard your first episode and you were like, I was like, wait, you got into them with this album.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, by this point I'd already seen them. And
Yeah.
I think of you, I think of Metallica, but it's just funny that, you're almost like the right next generation, if not, the next, whatever.
No, totally. I get what you're saying.
Yeah. So I'm just going to flash back to 1999. And I was not yet at my job. Now I've been at my job now since 1999, but early on, I was temping someplace, and I'm on the computer, and I think I just happened to go to ironmaiden.com. I saw a headline, I don't know where, but that just showed these 6 old British guys all holding up a beer. And I see this Bruce Dickinson with the short hair. I see Adrian Smith back in the band. I see Yannick is still in the band, and it says, Bruce Dickinson and Adrian Smith rejoin Iron Maiden. New collection comes out with CD-ROM game and a new tour. I'm like, what? So
what? A CD-ROM? What is that?
So I immediately text my brother's beeper. No, I'm just kidding. This was 99, so we didn't have cell phones yet. I don't think we even had email yet. I might have had to call him.
Oh, the worst, when he had to call somebody.
99. Wait a minute. It was 1999. I just went home. Yeah. So, and I, freaking out about this, immediately saw that they were going to put on a concert in Boston. This was, again, I hadn't seen them since 1991. Right. I've seen Maiden 9 times, but if from 91 to 99, nothing. So, 99, because they toured, I feel like they played, I hate to say it, like a club in Connecticut with Blaze Bayley. Like they didn't have that tour. They didn't have that massive tour with them in the US with Blaze. So they put out this again, and it was a double CD with just all their songs on it. Another greatest hits basically. But I had to get it because it was Iron Maiden, and it had the great Ed Hunter video game, which was the biggest piece of shit. But anytime I bought a computer game, my computer
affiliated video game is just not good. Like Aerosmith had theirs back in the day. Do you remember that one?
I do. I remember Journey having one. There
was a Metallica one in development, like in the early 2000s, that never saw the light of day, so we all dodged that bullet.
It's like, and it's funny that Maiden puts out Ed Hunter, and you're like, well, they learned their lesson. No, they have their app now, and yes, there's a version of Angry Birds with Iron Maiden, which still blows my mind. To me, Iron Maiden still feels like that niche band that when I hear someone say, "Oh, I know them," I'm like, the shirts, you don't know the band.
Well, I mean, that's part of pop culture now, I think, in general, is that you have these iconic bands with these iconic logos that are just people who've never. I'm a teacher in Harlem, New York. The amount of Metallica t-shirts I see in Harlem, and this might sound bad, it might sound like I'm racially profiling. It's not my intention at all, but I've been to a lot of Metallica shows. I know a lot of Metallica fans. The people I see wearing Metallica shirts around Harlem are not the same people I see at Metallica shows. It's a fashion statement.
Hey, I mean, we went. I mean, it's it's a fashion statement. But yeah, I mean, yes, these concerts we go to are usually just weird white dudes. Yeah. That's just the way it is.
I wish.
That's why when, my friend from college, when he got us tickets to see Slayer. Remember, we saw Slayer with my friend from college, and he's a black guy, and I'm like, "You want to go see Slayer?" He's like, "Yeah, I don't know. We'll figure it out."
We're all in this together.
It was fun, but it was like, he's like, I think he was already looking. Like, he was saying, "Yeah, I'm going to go see Jay-Z," and I was like, I mean, not to profile, but yeah, that's the kind of music I knew you listened to in college. I knew this kid when I was in college.
And it's a cultural thing, where like,
yeah.
I grew up in New Hampshire. I grew up around all white people. There's not a big anything else demographic, and the era I grew up in was still very rock heavy. So I grew up with a lot of rock loving white people. That's
yeah. that was the name of your first band.
People. Yeah, never caught on though. Yeah.
No. So so we went to see Maiden in '99. Sadly, Adrian Smith's father, I believe, passed away, so he was not at the band. So like the first time, I'm like, come on, they're not all together. Bruce comes out dancing and prancing. I was like, yes, this is amazing. Clutch opened up for them.
Remember Clutch? Yeah,
they opened up for them.
There's still a thing. It
was in the Boston Orpheum. Yeah. It was so hot in there in the Orpheum that my brother almost melted. I was like, I think he left for the last time. I was like, I'm not leaving. I cannot leave. This is
Orpheum.
I don't know.
For those these people listening who do not know, is like an old school opera theater in Boston, Massachusetts.
Yep. And, the way I see it is, even in '99, these guys are already old. I don't know how many times I'm going to see it. I'm not going to leave. I'm never going to leave.
But you're still at the Orpheum. You're recording at the Orpheum right now. Yeah.
Right. I say that, but for some reason I feel like I have to leave another time. And it might have been the next year because my brother's like, we need to get out of here. But like, it was so hot in there that my brother bought, like, this guy was selling drinks outside, and we bought the whole bag and screwed everyone behind us in line. That was '99. 2000, all of a sudden Brave New World comes out. I had to download the Real Player to like watch it because there was no YouTube then. Watch the video for it, thinking this is awesome. Bought the CD, and I remember, putting the CD into my DVD player. I was a newlywed and lying down on my living room floor like a little kid, looking at the liner notes and listening to every song.
I miss those 2000 days of just putting on an album, doing nothing else but listening to that album, having the album physically in your hands, and like reading the lyrics. I would read like who wrote what song, who was playing what instrument, who produced. Like I was like in the weeds with it,
I did that for Book of Souls, my friend. I did that for Book of Souls. So where am I? Okay, so 2000 comes around. Then they do the tour for that. So I saw them with Queensryche and Halford, which was awesome. Then nothing for a couple of years. Then they sometimes they do these kind of legacy tours where they just do a bunch of greatest hits. There's no album to go out and see. That's when you came.
That
to the
was
concert.
my first Iron Maiden show, and it is still your first Iron Maiden day. If I had to make a top 5 list of best concerts I've ever been to, I'm not sure exactly where it would rank in the top 5, but that would definitely be in the top 5.
That was amazing because we were 4th row, right in the center stage. It was Dio, Motorhead, Iron Maiden. Unbelievable. They didn't have any album to promote. They played one song from the Dance of Death, which was coming out, I think, the following year. And they didn't care if you recorded their concert. They didn't care if you downloaded it, and they kind of made fun of Metallica. And I grabbed you because you had your Maiden shirt, your Metallica shirt on. I was like pointing at you, like, Bruce, look at this asshole.
And he was like, I could care less.
So that was
run to
that was I think that was 03, right? So that was 03. Then I believe, honestly, then there was a string of Maiden concerts where you were at all of them. So 2006, we went to A Matter of Life and Death. That's where they played the entire Matter of Life and Death.
That was
That was not my favorite show. That was probably my least favorite
you know
show.
what? I give Iron Maiden credit because they're a phenomenal live band, but two, like I appreciate any band who's like, you know what? We're gonna do whatever the hell we want at this show. This is our show. So you're paying to see us. We will decide what we're gonna play. We're not gonna play whatever you want to hear. But at the same time, I'm like, do you really want to play this whole album from start to finish?
Right. And they had a giant tank on stage. Then they played like Fear of the Dark, and I think it was 2 Minutes to Midnight. They played like 4 or 5 songs, but it felt like we were waiting for Matter of Life or Death to end, because the album wasn't out that long, so I was like listening to it, like studying it.
It was the week the album came out, if I recall.
Yeah,
so like so not only did they play the full album, but they played it at a time where nobody was that familiar with the album. Even like the most diehard loyal Maiden fans were still like getting acquainted with the album.
Yep. And the opening act, do you remember?
Bullet for My Valentine.
Very good. Now, I just skipped over a Maiden show.
What?
But it wasn't quite a Maiden show. Back in 2005, you were there. I was there. We weren't together. Ozfest.
Oh, yeah. That was before they got like egged and stuff.
Yeah, that was. Yeah, but he was talking about like, look, he was saying, look, we're the type of band, we're going to put out new albums and keep touring for new albums. We're not just going to go out there and say, hey, look at us. We're history.
Right.
Basically throwing that at Ozzy. But to this day, Sharon Osbourne, to me, she can rot in hell for all I can.
But again, going back,
can burn in the fiery pits of hell.
Going back to that though, like I respect it, and I think that is what Metallica's been so good at. But they do a better job, in my opinion, of balancing it. So, like when I saw them, the last time I saw them was on the World's Wire tour when they were playing the stadiums, and I saw them at I still want to call it Giant Stadium, but MetLife Stadium in New York, and they played, I think they played at least 4 new songs, maybe 5 new songs. Not only did those 5 songs get a strong positive reaction from the crowd, but they balanced it with all the other stuff that the casual fan would want to hear.
Was that Death Magnetic?
No, this is on their current tour on Hardwired.
Same.
So like,
you just saw them.
Yeah, like this past summer.
That's right. This tour with Volbeat.
So they came out. They started with 2 songs. They played Hardwired and Atlas Rise back to back. So like the start with the new song when you're a band like Metallica,
such a good album,
I feel like is a pretty ballsy move. And then to start with 2 new songs is a ballsier move. But the place went nuts. People were eating up these live songs, these new songs rather, and they sprinkled like 2 or 3 other songs in their set. But the difference is that they played for almost 3 hours. They played, like for the casual fan, they played all the big hits off the Black Album. For the diehard fan, they played old school thrash stuff like Fight Fire with Fire. Like it was a good mix that catered to anybody who would be there, while still playing new stuff and establishing them as like a relevant modern band rather than like a nostalgia act. And I feel like Iron Maiden does not always get that balance right. I feel like they do all or nothing. Like they're like, okay, this is a legacy show. We're gonna play all old shit. All right. This is we're gonna play whatever we want. Here's our full album from start to finish that we just released this week. Like there's a part of me as a musician that respects that, but there's part of me as a fan who's not that into Iron Maiden, where I'm just like, okay, enough.
I get it, because like the first time I saw them, they were promoting No Prayer for the Dying, but again, that was their 8th album. They have 16 albums now, so it's like, they have more that they could choose from. Yet they I've only heard them play a Blaze song once or twice. They never play anything. I've heard them play a No Prayer for the Dying since then. They play like Afraid to Shoot Strangers once. It's like, but they definitely will have a tour where they're putting out a new album, and then they'll play that album. The last couple times, like the time that we went, we saw the what was it? Somewhere Back in Time tour.
Yeah.
So there was just all old stuff.
I feel like that was the same
the next
time
time
as Ozfest. Am I wrong? Like it overlapped with that?
That was a couple of years later. That was like 08.
But
so
Ozfest,
05,
they also were
honestly,
not promoting anything new, if I recall, right?
Right. No, I think that was just to be on Ozfest. They did like No Ed Till You're Dead or some crazy. I don't know. It was. Oh, you know what it was? It was the History of Iron Maiden had just come out, I believe. So it was all kind of around that. But they had like the Ed Hunter tour was just greatest hits. The next year they did the Brave New World, so everything was Brave New World. But again, they mixed in hits. I mean, I've seen them a couple times now where they don't play Run to the Hills, and I'm like, the Dio show again, it was just hits. Right. They did Made in England, that was in 12, I believe, and then I think since then that was last year was the one where they put out Book of Souls. I never saw them do anything. Oh no, Matter of Life and Death, of course, was a ton of that. I never saw any tour for Dance of Death. I've never heard them play a song from Dance of Death. Final Frontier, again, I don't think they toured around for Final Frontier for us. I didn't see any Final Frontier. But they don't, even now, they didn't play anything from that. They don't, but I think they like to say, hey, these are our albums too. And they want to choose from them, but then they'll play the old stuff. Like now they're doing Legacy of the Beast tour, but it's only going to be in Europe. I would almost have preferred to see that than to see the Book of Souls tour, because it was, I love some of these songs from Book of Souls, but I don't have a long enough relationship with them that they don't go when I hear them. And it's not that they're not good. It's not that I'm hearing, but there's like a personal connection you get with these songs. You have your songs.
And I think that's the case with any band. And I think too, when you are a band as successful as Iron Maiden or Metallica, you have, and you have such a passionate audience that is so drawn to, these old songs and these old albums, is that it's like almost when
everything at this point, after this point, is sold out. Everything after the Black Album, it's almost like the Black Album was a line in the
like Hardwired to Self-Destruct, I think is a brilliant album. I think it's a phenomenal album from start to finish, and I think most people felt that way. But you're always going to have those haters like, well, it's not Master of Puppets. It's like, well, no, go listen to Master of Puppets. That's why that album exists,
Yeah, exactly. But it's funny, like, I think of like the Black Album as that line for Metallica. And for me, for Maiden, it's always been Seventh Son, because that's when I started listening. Everything before that was like all the stuff I need to catch up on. Now it's all this new stuff that is new for me and new for everybody else. And I think of, Bruce has been back in the band, but the classic Maiden, he was in, he's been back for a few years. He was in Maiden I think he joined in 80, 81, and he left in, 92 or something like that, 93. I mean, he was in the band for 6 albums and 12 years. And he's been back in the band for 18 years, 19 years, and 6 albums. So it's weird. Like, I wonder what it would have been if he didn't leave, but, it is what it is. I mean, we have the 2 Blaze albums. I got to see Blaze in New Hampshire with Jeff Tate and Ripper Owens. It was,
and you all played with sadness.
They did. Look, Blaze Bailey, he's chubby, and he can't sing like Bruce, but he was so much fun.
Tone. He's just no Bruce Dickinson. But again, though, too, where we have that personal relationship with Bruce Dickinson in like that era of Iron Maiden, and it's like, as most people do. So when somebody new comes along, you're like, who the fuck is this guy? What, like,
Right. I mean, changing out your bass player, I mean, no matter how iconic Cliff Burton is, to me, he was the guy who used to play bass, who, obviously tragically died. But I was like, I got into the band. So did you? Maybe at the Jason Newsted level.
Yeah.
That's how I knew them. That's how won. Cliff Burton just looked like this hippie guy. I was like, what's he
Jason
doing in
Newsted was the
Metallica?
first bassist I ever heard of Metallica. But it's ironic because when I went back and listened to the old stuff, it was hearing like Anesthesia pulling teeth like in those bass solos and those bass lines and the various songs that really made me passionate about the bass. So like I credit Cliff Burton as my number one influence on the bass, but it's ironic because Jason Newsted was my introduction to bass players in Metallica, and for a period of time, he was the only bass player I knew ever played in Metallica because I was young when I discovered them. So, I was confused. I talked about this in the first episode, but I was confused when I bought Kill 'Em All as to who this Cliff Burton guy was in the liner notes. I was very confused.
I was confused when I bought Iron Maiden. I said, why does it sound different? I didn't know.
Wow, his voice has really changed over the years.
It didn't.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. He really kind of picked up he really learned how to sing a couple of years later. But it's very different. I mean, the main core guys of the band for Maiden are, for Metallica are those. I mean, you want to say Lars and James, but Kirk too, because he's been there since album 1. But to me, it always feels like, I don't know. I hate to say the Paul Stanley, Gene Simmons, but it always feels like James and Lars are the decision makers.
They are. I mean,
they're right.
They are the band, like in a nutshell. Like if you had to, not that. If we're talking modern day Metallica, not that Kirk and Rob Trujillo do not have say in artistic or business decisions, but James and Lars are steering the ship.
Right. I feel like they got better. I feel like they're probably better to Robert than they were to.
I think that's accurate to say, but based on everything I've heard, including from the mounts of Jason Newsted, like. And even like the other band members, I would say that's absolutely true. But like you said, they're not alcoholics anymore. They're older. They're wiser. Like it's a whole different.
Exactly.
You could make an argument that they're entirely different people now than they were in '86 when Newsted was auditioning.
Yeah. Now, which one of them in their band flies the plane?
I would imagine Lars Ulrich, right? That's what I think you have to learn how to fly a plane to graduate grade school in Denmark. So it's a day.
it's tennis and plane.
So we've been talking a long time now. Is it possible that we will have to split this episode into 2 parts even?
So anyway, after the 2012 show,
we've been talking a long time. It's been great.
I don't know if we've actually had a debate though.
No, I'm saying I'm not wrapping up. I'm saying let's transition now into the debate.
Well, I want to say one thing in. Sure. You talked about
we've taken little jabs at each other, but we have
not. You saw Metallica at Giant Stadium.
MetLife, as the millennials call it. Yes,
you've seen them. You saw the Big Four at it. What was that? Was that Citi Field?
That was at Yankee Stadium. Yeah.
So that's the one thing that Maiden, as far as I'm concerned, couldn't do in the States is a tour like that. They're a 15,000 seat. I'm sure they could bang out the TD Garden, but whenever we see them now, it's always. At Great Woods, which is what, 14,000?
I would say roughly. So let's, all right.
And it was packed.
I'm going to stop you for a moment.
I'm going to say that, but they're not, it is what it is.
I'm going to stop you for a moment because I feel like that's a good way to transition into this. So.
Give me fuel, give me fire, give me that which I desire.
That concludes part 1 of Metallica versus Iron Maiden. As I said at the top of this episode, part 2 will be in episode 5 of Metallicast, and we'll be diving straight into the debate to determine once and for all which band is the better band. I got a hint for you. The answer is, of course, Metallica. Please, if you're not already, subscribe, download, and review Metallicast. You can find us on iTunes, Google, Stitcher, YouTube, and of course our home site, fans.experts.com. If you can leave a 5-star review, if you can tell your friends to check us out, anything you can do to support the show and spread the word is much appreciated. Thank you to everybody who already has been doing that. Nothing but love for you guys. Follow Metallicast on Twitter at MetallicastPod. Follow Maiden Fan Podcast on Twitter at Maiden Podcast. And follow Fans.Experts on Twitter at Fans.Experts. Now, for those who have been listening to the first few episodes, I like to end each one with a cover of a Metallica song. But for the end of this episode, I'm going to mix it up a little bit. I have a quick clip of Metallica jamming on some Iron Maiden. You're going to hear them do some of Prowler, and then do a horrible rendition of the Run to the Hills introduction. I'm not sure what show this is from. According to what I saw, it is from a Dallas, Texas show in 1989. I know they also jammed on the Prowler a bit on the 1992 tour, so not sure if what I saw is accurate or not, but it's from one of those tours, either from Justice or Black Album. So here it is. Until next time, ladies and gentlemen, metal up your ass. Yeah!
Walking from the city, looking up so pretty, I've just got to find my way. See them lazy lashes, see them elevated, I've just got to find my way. Don't see me crawling through them bushes with an open wide. Just see a girl. Can't you believe that feeling? Can't you believe it? Can't you believe your eyes? Can't reach this girl. Not be feeling myself and reeling around. Got me talking, but feel like walking around. Yeah.
Fans not experts.